Previously on Captain Robb's Trek Logs.
The line in the sand is drawn from here on out. No more discovery. Yes, Tom.
We have orders from Admiral Andre. We must review the next episode of Star Trek Discovery.
He tied me down to a chair. He taped my eyes open. He made me watch this abomination.
I wouldn't have to tie you down if you just did it of your own free will.
I wake up, and I'm still watching Discovery. Every minute I watch it, I get weaker. And every minute Discovery fans, they get stronger. I couldn't believe it. A man of his character. But now, I know what must be done. At first I thought they handed me the wrong dossier. I couldn't believe this man liked Discovery. Third generation Starfleet Academy. Top of his class. Rigel 7. Axanar. About 1,000 different decorations. And can make one hell of a pastrami sandwich. Etc. Etc. He was being groomed for one of the top slots in the corporation.
Captain, sir?
I told you I didn't want to be disturbed.
We've got orders to change course. We're heading towards...
Keep the ship moving. That's an order, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
Isn't there a Starbucks on Starbase 12? I could really go for a chai latte right about now.
Yes. There's at least 42 on every starbase.
Oh, can you stop and grab me one?
Sure. You're the captain.
Can you break a 20? That's all I got. You know what? Get yourself something to just bring the change. Oh, do you like crullers? Everyone like crullers? Any dairy allergies? No? Good. Let's get some crullers. About 2 dozen crullers. That ought to do it. I love the smell of chai latte in the morning. Smells like victory. Crewman, what's your name? Steve?
Bill.
Bill. Okay, Bill. Do we have any bunnies on board?
Captain, incoming message.
Intruder alert on Deck 8. Enter authorization code. Command functions are offline. Automatic defense procedures initiated. Diagnostic complete. Sensors are functioning normally.
Good evening, everyone. We are opening again another transmission of Captain Robb's Trek Logs. I am once again Captain Robb, and join me today is Lieutenant Commander Tom Connors.
Hello, and welcome to the USS Frustration, I think it was you called it.
Oh, God, frustration. But we can almost see a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to cover today, actually, episodes 8 and 9, because this really is supposed to be a two-part episode. These two episodes are really one 90-minute episode. We can see that.
Well, like you said, it's the fall finale. We figure we just put these two shows together, and then we'll have fun next time and do some Orville.
Yes, we'll be talking about the Orville while Star Trek Discovery is on hiatus. Regrettably, it has to come back at some point, though. Right. Just like an STD, it always comes back.
Speaking of hiatus, Andre, of course, unfortunately, is unable to join us right now, so we'll get to hear what he thinks of these episodes soon enough on the main channel. He wants to do a little recap of the entire first half of the season on STD so far, so we'll do that there, but we'll get into it just a little bit here, tell you guys what we thought about it, and move forward, and be glad that we have about a month without Star Trek.
I never thought I'd say that. Jeez. So anyway, let's just dive right in. Episode 8 was titled Si Vis Pacem Parabellum, which is Latin for if you want peace, prepare for war. And it's just as pretentious as it sounds. So we see actually the Discovery on a bit of a war footing. They're fighting some battles, and Lorca has sent an away team to the planet Pavin. And we see that Michael Burnham and Ash Tyler are the only two who are suited to going on this away mission, apparently, along with Saru, because he has a heightened awareness. And on the planet Pavin, they can't communicate with the Discovery because something is blocking the signal. And when you know it, it is actually something that reminds me of another Star Trek episode. Wouldn't you say that reminds you of another Star Trek episode from the past? Well, we'll get into that in a second. So they discover that even though this planet is uninhabited, there is a life form on it, the Pavans, and they have a way of communicating.
Well, it is kind of the planet itself, actually.
Yeah, it's sort of the spirit of Gaia.
It's truly like the Force. It's the midichlorians. Like, we've talked about the spore drive being the midichlorians. This, like, literally was midichlorians. Like the living entity.
Yeah, they've ripped off so many other things, So anyway, the Pavans, the midichlorians, the pixie dust, whatever they are, they start communing with the crew of the Discovery, with Burnham and Ash Tyler and Saru, and because of Saru's heightened awareness, he hears them and they're tormenting him. Then at some point, while they're trying to sleep in a hut that has just magically appeared, because why the hell not?
It looks like something out of Avatar, yeah.
Yes, the midichlorians, the Pavans, whatever they are, they commune with Saru, and he feels completely at peace.
It's almost like they brainwash him, but yeah.
Yeah, and this is what I'm getting at, actually. That reminds me of so much of the original series episode, This Side of Paradise. Where you have the spores, and everybody just gets kind of hippied out and so serene, and...
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing that brings them out of them is negative emotions.
Yep.
That famous scene where Spock's about to crush Kirk's head with a very large object. And so Saru is making a case for them not to leave the planet. He wants to stay. But no, Michael Burnham is the only one that can communicate with the Discovery because the Pavans have built the spire and that is blocking the transmission. And so she finds a way, of course, to tap into it. As usual, everything's just set up so that she can knock it down. So anyway, in a bit of a subplot, actually, we have Stamets is talking to our favorite redhead, Tilly, and said that he's having some problems with the spore drive. He's having some negative side effects, and he's afraid that if he reports it to his boyfriend doctor, that he'll be taken off duty and it'll be an end of his career if he covers it up, or they'll take him off the project, and one way or another it's not going to end well for him or anybody involved.
He's having issues with memories.
Yes, there's memories
Keep coming in and out of his mind from alternate dimensions.
Like memories of the way we were. No, okay.
Oh, we're definitely getting a strike now.
Yeah. But there's even another subplot. Tom, there's another subplot. They just throw so many subplots at you. We don't know. Our favorite or least favorite, or whatever we're going to call it, Klingon, L'Rell, she is actually planning to defect, and she wants Admiral Cornwell's help to do it. So the two are trying to escape, and wouldn't you know, they get found out, and she actually has to try and kill Admiral Cornwell, and she at least gives him a grade 4 concussion. At the very least, and paralyzes her. And she finds a bunch of her dead Klingon former crewmates in a cell, and they look kind of half-eaten, And just remember what your mom said about finishing everything on your plate. So, I don't know. There's just so much wrong with this episode. Oh, where do we start? And we haven't even gotten to the summary of it. That the spire that the Pavans build. And turns out that is what Michael Burnham tries to communicate with him, and only she can communicate with him because only she knows how. And so we see Saru. Saru is like Usain Bolt in this one, fleet of foot. He tries to stop her. They have a little bit of a tiff, a disagreement, and they communicate with Discovery. They get beamed up, and the Pavans communicate with the Klingons, and that's the end of part 1. That's the cliffhanger, that the Pavans bring the Klingons here because they are so into unity, they have to try to mediate the Klingons and the Federation.
Let's just talk about for a second how this episode really did start to telegraph a lot of things that are to come. Obviously, we brought up the whole memory thing. We get the foreshadowing that he's getting memories of other versions of himself, and because he's like, I keep remembering things I shouldn't remember and forgetting things, I think, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Regardless, he basically is setting it up to where he's obviously getting memories and stuff from his other versions of himself. And he talks about what did he call it? An alternate
parallel dimensions. That's a term he describes it later. Because that's how fucking convoluted this show is becoming. No, that's the whole thing about Star Trek Discovery. It's trying to be so much smarter than it actually is. It really is.
I think I said it to you before the show. This show feels like a melodramatic late 80s cheap drama. inside this very expensive sci-fi coding. Like, the writing is so horrible. These actors, I feel sorry for them because they obviously are like just going along with whatever's on the page. But I can imagine they got to be sitting there and going, they got to be doing the classic, what's my motivation here? Because obviously most of them don't have a motivation except for Lorca. And maybe Tyler if we get into that part later. But it's like even their motivations are questionable. And we're not the only ones who've pointed out. I've seen other reviewers say it, so I know we're not the only ones seeing it. Doesn't feel natural. I don't get it. Because there are aspects of this story so far that would normally intrigue me. But I'm just so turned off by so many things in the show that I don't get it.
And that's the big problem. Like I said, there are just so many aspects of it that you just really don't understand why this would happen. All they want to do is they want to show them doing something to make you say, wow, look at that. They don't care why either.
They all feel so generic. Everything feels so fucking generic and forced. The interactions between Burnham and Tyler, there is zero fucking chemistry there. Zero. And Tyler is coming off as just so I don't know who this actor is.
Shazad Latif is his name.
Horribleness. I don't know if it's his fault.
Well, it's that old thing. I got nothing to work with here. Remember?
Basically.
Yeah. Remember when Krusty on The Simpsons would always say, I got nothing to work with here. Nothing.
And I feel sorry for him because I do. It's like, because this guy is a likable guy. But it's like they're forcing that so much. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like they're forcing Burnham to like him so much, when what we've learned from Burnham so far, the way she's reacting with him goes completely against character. She would be a lot more shielded than she would not have opened up this quickly.
No.
This I didn't expect until the last half.
Yeah. There's things that are going on are just head-scratchingly stupid, first of all. The only person who can communicate with the Pavans is Burnham. She figures out how to do it.
Right.
Part of this reminded me of a great episode from The Next Generation from Season 5 called Silicon Avatar, where the Enterprise encounters the crystalline entity. It was actually one of my favorite episodes, actually. It was a very similar kind of situation, very similar kind of plot device, where they had to try to communicate with, I wouldn't call it a non-intelligent life form, but they just couldn't, it was destroying a lot of worlds. It would, in the process of feeding, and they had to find a way to communicate with it. And so Data and the doctor who lost her son to the crystalline entity, they rigged the deflector dish to emit a resonating signal. And so, that's more plausible than Burnham trying to say, "Hi, we're from Earth." I mean, they put no thought into this. There is zero thought put into this. And how does an unsettled planet have a gigantic hut, really? You would think that they would say, hey, listen, you're beaming down to this planet, take a couple Starfleet shelters with you, portable shelters, or a couple tents or whatever. Like I said, there's just no thought put into this at all. What would someone need on a planet? They would need food. They would need water. They would need a tent. They would need something to emit heat, a light. Alex Kurtzman thinks we're stupid. He really does. He thinks the audience is stupid, or that we're just not going to notice it. That is one of the biggest problems I have with this show, is that this show talks down to its audience.
I get it. They're trying to do this twisty-turny thing, kind of like Game of Thrones, and it feels so much like somebody who's trying to be pretentious, trying to make something seem a lot more important and smarter than it really is.
Like Peter Griffin said, it insists upon itself.
Couldn't get into it.
Explain yourself. What didn't you like about it?
It insists upon itself, Lois.
Exactly. That's something you go back to, but it's true. And every scene insists upon itself. And even the character interactions are so forced. And I had a hard time just watching it because of just that reason. It's like, it's just difficult to just digest.
I've often said that Star Trek Discovery is like a rambling hipster.
That's why we sound this way.
Who smokes pot, and he's and this kid, he's that annoying hipster who smokes a lot of pot, and he spent his first week in Political Science 100 class, and now he's trying to lecture you
now that he read a book.
Yeah, that he's read like one book. He hasn't read a book. He's read a chapter. He knows a lot of the phrases, but he doesn't know what anything means. And he doesn't know anything beyond what he's just learned, like a cursory knowledge. And he's lecturing you ad nauseum at a party. He's cornering you. You can't get away from him. And he just keeps babbling and babbling and babbling. And he just keeps saying, yeah, but you wouldn't understand. Yeah. So, but you wouldn't understand. And he doesn't even understand, but he thinks he's the smartest motherfucker in the room.
Just like Michael Burnham.
Just like Michael Burnham. They think this is smarter than it actually is, and it's not. And it's written by people who have no knowledge of Star Trek at all.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we brought that up before. I said the whole purple monkey dishwasher thing, and it does. It feels like something so far removed. Like, they gave the guy a job because the kid said, oh, yeah, I think I've seen an episode of Star Trek once, or one of the movies or something, and all they've seen is Star Trek 09,
Yeah, Gene Roddenberry, I love her.
Exactly, yeah. What did I say? Oh, yeah, who did she play? Yeah.
Yeah.
This show has made us sound stupid.
The next episode is actually titled Into the Forest I Go. So we didn't want to spend too much time on this, but it looks like we're going to anyway. So it opens up. It has the Discovery is now cornered by the sarcophagus ship, which makes another return. And Lorca is trying to explain to the Admiral that he can't go back to Starfleet headquarters because he has to take out the sarcophagus ship, which has the cloaking device. Or as they call it, the invisibility screen. Even just the names they can't even get right. They're trying to make it sound like the names haven't been developed yet, and so they're just calling it whatever.
I think they're trying to hide the fact that we didn't know there was a cloaking device until way down the road, and this is their way of hiding that, which is just bullshit to me. Okay, I understand. It would take a while to develop something like that, but considering the shit obviously works, I have a hard time believing that for the next 10 years, nobody discusses this.
Nobody. But here's the thing, though. Lorca is not going to use the spore drive to jump back to Starfleet headquarters because that would be too short. So he wants Stamets to get checked out, and that's going to alert Dr. Culber to his condition. And so, moral dilemma. So anyway, so in the time that it's going to take to get back to Starfleet headquarters, they have to develop an algorithm that is going to be able to detect the Klingon sarcophagus ship, which again is a stupid name. And they come up with a plan that they must beam an away team aboard the ship and plant 2 beacons, one on the bridge, one in another undisclosed location, which they really don't say. And guess who are the only people that can do it? Take one guess,
Michael Burnham and Tyler.
Yes, of course, because there's nobody else qualified. Because a 115-pound woman is going to take down an entire ship full of Klingons.
Well, she did kill a Klingon already.
Yeah, but accidentally. Well, no, it was deliberate.
Hey, I gotta give her credit in this one though. She actually at least takes the blame for starting the fucking war.
Yeah.
She stands there right there and says it.
My actions resulted in this war. I'm like, yeah, that's the only thing you got right so far. In the entire series, that's the only fucking thing you've gotten right. So anyway, so she has to plant these 2 big, huge beacons, which are about the size of a boombox. That makes you say, okay, well, first of all, I call bullshit on this right away because these things beep as loud as it can be. Nobody's gonna find these things, and you're gonna place one on the bridge, and nobody's gonna notice it. Oh, and nobody's gonna say, hey, what's that beeping sound? Somebody got a hot pocket in the microwave?
Didn't they have like a bright green light on them too?
Yes, a green or blue light. Yeah, exactly. And they talk too. Beacon planted. Contacting Discovery. Oh. And so anyway, Stamets has to make 133 jumps within a very short time in order to buy them enough time to plant the beacons so they can destroy them. So they find out about the side effects, and so he decides to go through it anyway after Captain Lorca asks him to very nicely. Gotta follow orders.
Then we get into Michael Bay's Star Trek then. Because Michael Burnham's over on there facing off against, I don't know, what, a half a dozen fucking Klingons?
Yes. And then at a very convenient moment, they find Captain Cornwell, and Tyler suddenly gets PTSD. And we find out, actually, Captain Cornwell is still alive. And Michael Burnham manages to open the cell with Ash Tyler's help. He just cuts the wires off the keypad. Makes you say, okay, well, there's no alarm on this cell, really? So nobody's going to notice. So, just like I said, so many.
And the reason he's having PTSD, we didn't mention too, is because of L'Oreal. Was that her name? L'Oreal?
Yeah, L'Oreal. It's I use L'Oreal. So,
I was glad nobody out there under our age caught that, but yeah.
Yeah. I miss those Aaron Gray commercials. I really do. So anyway,
back to reality.
Yeah. So Laurel is giving Ash Tyler a fit of PTSD. Michael Burnham goes up to the bridge, plants another beacon, confronts Cole, and
has a karate match.
Yeah. She finally admits that it was her fault that the war started, and suddenly Ash Tyler snaps out of it after Cornwell says, "You got to snap out of it."
Yeah. Yeah, he thinks about his love for Michael Burnham. And I'm telling you, just to jump back real quick, I was waiting that whole scene at the end there for her to go, "'Cause I'm Michael Burnham, bitch." I was so waiting for that. It felt like it was leading up to that so much. That's what I was saying about it feeling so out of place. I don't know.
She might as well have said that. She might as well have said that.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, she had that attitude about her.
Yeah. So anyway, she challenges Cole challenges her to the death, or vice versa. They fight and they beam her out, and she recovers Georgiou's Starfleet comm badge or whatever it was. Do they have comm? I don't think they have comm badges. They still have communicators. Anyways, it recovers Georgiou's badge or dog tag, and that's supposed to make it so meaningful. And, actually, one of the things I've been saying all along was, why not just have the Klingons speak English? And they finally decided to have them speak English through the Universal Translator.
Yeah, which makes an appearance in this episode.
Yeah. And you want to know something? It helps. It fucking helps. Just have them speak English, so they don't have a mouthful of marbles. Jeez.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the whole reason for the Universal Translator in the first place. And, yeah, it was kind of unique, but...
Oh... God. So anyway, in the...
Excuse me, sorry.
It reminds me of that scene from The Princess Bride. The pit of despair. Don't even think about trying to escape. But anyway, so actually, they beam out. Burnham beams out, and then Cornwell and Ash Tyler beams out, and Laurel hops on board in a scene that's kind of very reminiscent of Star Trek 4. Remember when the oceanographer, the marine biologist,
him,
yeah. But,
very similar, but yeah.
And so now they have a prisoner, and Michael Burnham, of course, they're so grateful, and Lorca convinces Stamets to do one last jump, and then...
Yeah. He has this very telegraphed scene where either he's going to die or something bad's going to happen, because he's basically saying a bunch of goodbyes and I love yous to everybody. The reason I call it Michael Bay's Star Trek is because the way that action scene is shot is just so weird. And then when they come back to the ship, there's this weird slow motion Michael Bay fucking scene.
Yeah, they turn around, lots of explosions. So anyway, so they're making the jumps. Stamets is having some problems. They give him digoxin, which is a heart medication. Actually, they got that right.
He goes into like this freak seizure and gets like blinded or whatever, but he can see, I think, the universe still or something like that. But yeah, he's crazy. And we obviously are probably left in what we figure is an alternate parallel dimensions. And actually, that's not even half it. We see some Klingon on human sex. Very graphic. Actually, when we see Tyler having flashbacks of being tortured or being operated on. Right, let's get into this. Okay.
Let's just dive in, okay? Because I've had enough of trying to describe this episode to people. Let's just dive into what was wrong, okay?
Well, first, let's just talk about this shit, because we've had this theory for a while that Tyler is actually the albino Klingon altered to look human, which is still very possible, but these last two episodes kind of gave us a little bit different impression.
And actually, what Laurel says to Ash Tyler when he sees her in the cell, I won't let them hurt you.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It's like, okay, so is he having like mixed... That's what made me think, and we kind of talked about this before the show, because we were just trying to wrap our heads around this shit. And as you can see, we got nowhere.
But that's indicative of this whole series. It goes nowhere. It's in a hurry to go absolutely nowhere.
Right. So he's got like Stockholm syndrome, obviously, with this L'Oreal. I don't care. That's not right, but that's what I'm gonna call her. I don't give a shit. Laurel. He's got this Stockholm syndrome with Laurel, and they obviously they talked about him being used sexually and her abusing him but he also has to admit to Michael Burnham that she's the only reason he's still alive. And then he goes into the room, like you said, and asks her, you know, what did you do to me? And she's like, don't worry, I won't let them hurt you. So then we're left thinking, okay, did she like brainwash him at some point and is using him and he is human? Or when they operated on him and altered him, they altered his mind as well. So he is the albino Klingon, he's just not aware of it yet. That's kind of the question I'm left with, and I think you're kind of left with the same questions, right, Rob?
Yeah, I'm thinking he is the albino Klingon, and they're trying to be they're trying to be smarter than they actually are, and then thinking that they've erased his memory to make him a more effective sleeper agent. But how would he pass all the the physicals, you know?
Well, and yeah, that's the other thing that I kind of got to too. And there's so many other questions, yeah. So that puts more in that
But unless that's one of the things we say because show, right?
And that's just it. If they're able to alter him that much, and if they did alter his mind to where at some point there's just something she's got to do to trigger it, which could work either way, that's just it. Where they have it set up now, they could go either way. He's either brainwashed by her to where all she's got to do is say or do something, and then he'll flip on everybody, or we do find out he is the albino Klingon. And either way, it doesn't matter. It's all set up so that Michael Burnham gets burned.
Yes, pretty much. You know, if they slip him the password, Bilbo Baggins, and he suddenly turns on everybody. We know for certain at some point.
Like I said, either way, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's all set up just basically for Burnham to feel betrayed. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah, this, look, the person who has trust issues is going to be betrayed.
Exactly, and that's like, and she trusts him too early anyway. For as fucking convoluted and stupid as some of this shit is, some of it comes so telegraphed from miles away, because like we just talked about, the scene before Stamets gets into the transport thing for the last time into the tardigrade.
The magic pixie dust drive.
The drive, yeah. This show has burnt me out. This show has really fucking burnt me out, man. I tried to like these last 2 episodes so badly, because I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I gotta try and just find stuff to like about this show, and I can't. I really can't. It's getting to the point where I don't even really care. Like, Tilly just turned into another side character these last 2 episodes.
Yeah, she turned into another anonymous crew member. Really, she just turned into another cardboard cutout. And Lorca actually said the name of the redhead on the bridge.
She had a line.
We should probably just call. Yeah, she actually had one line. We should just start calling her Lisa Left Eye.
Like I said, I've tried to find things to like about the show. I kind of like the female Klingon until that last part, which we talked about. We might as well get into the graphic fucking Klingon sex scene.
It was just so gratuitous. There was no need for that. You could have been artistic. You could have showed him like her pressed up against his ear and him like being repulsed and just like
you don't even need to show that graphic. Like they started out okay. You got the idea, and then it got to we didn't need to see a full frontal, And this goes back to something that Mundane Matt and I kind of got into it a little bit about, and I think you even a little bit too about that one episode where it went all Resident Evil. It's just unnecessary. Sure, you can do it, but that doesn't mean you should. And it's not Star Trek. This shit is getting so far removed from Star Trek that I don't know what to fucking say about it. And I'm getting literally worked up about this, and I know you were worked up before the show.
Yeah, I was worked up. Now I'm just exhausted.
Yeah.
This really it's exhausted me. I'm like, it is just so bad. I keep going, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. I keep saying, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong about this. No, I'm not. And you know what? I read an article today. I can't remember on what website, maybe IO9 or whatever. Someone said, "Oh, the final episode of." I'm not going to mention the person who wrote its name. Okay, I don't want to do that to her. But the headline was, "This episode of Discovery broke our brain." No, it didn't. It didn't. Nothing about this show breaks your brain.
Unless you mean it in a way like we're taking it right now, it just totally fucking just drains you of all life.
It just drains the life out of us. But nothing about this is clever. Nothing about this is smartly written. It's okay. I'm gonna say this. Stop defending this show. Stop. Just stop. This show is not clever. It's not smart. This show is insulting. It insults your intelligence. It insults you as a fan. It insults you as a science fiction fan. It insults you as a viewer. It insults you as a human being. I can't. Is there anything else that it could insult
and
you?
You may think that we're getting overboard, and we've had people say, "Oh, you guys are just no." We've been trying, and I desperately tried. I watched these episodes basically twice over, trying to be like, "What am I missing here? What is it? What is it about these shows that A, makes them Star Trek, B, makes these other people think that it's so great, and C, what are these critics fucking seeing?" Because granted, yes, I'm a critic too. I'm not as prolific, but I am, and I've done this for years. And I don't understand what these people are seeing in this show. I'm desperately seeking it, like Susan, and I can't. That's a big cut. And I cannot find it.
I hated that movie, by the way. I went to see that movie at the theater. I
Madonna, yeah.
Rosanna Arquette. I love Rosanna. I thought Rosanna Arquette was the bee's knees, but that movie was terrible. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Anything that's not Star Trek at this point, or should I be more? Anything that's not STD at this point. That's what I would love to talk about.
There are things that you can kind of point to that you sort of like in this series, but they get lost in just how bad it is. And we've been saying all this shit for months. The alternate parallel dimensions, we've been saying trans-dimensional universes for months at Midnight's Edge. Look what happened, everybody. And like I said, you can say we're old. You can say, oh, well, you don't understand all you want. You cannot defend this anymore.
This may not be your daddy's Star Trek, but it sure is a fucking anybody's Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not trying to insult anybody. We're not trying to start a fight. But I'm really stretching at this point to fucking try and see what it is about this show. And we're dead fucking serious now. We're not even joking around anymore at all. Because you and I have gotten to this point where we are desperately trying to find something to like about it. Because deep down inside, we've said this before, we want to like something that's called Star Trek.
And the only thing I can see that people like it, and let's just call a spade, okay? People are making excuses for this show because they all say the same thing. Oh yeah, it has its problems. They say, and they stop short. They just stop dead in their track. But it's so important that Sonequa Martin Green, first woman of color, is a lead in the Star Trek series. That's not enough.
That's bullshit too.
Okay. That's not enough. Okay, you want a woman of color as lead in a Star Trek series, but do you want a woman of color as lead in a Star Trek series that's this bad?
Right. Well, and like I said, we've said it before. I'm waiting with all this press that they keep pushing this crap with for a lot of the other ladies of Star Trek and other, people of different races in Star Trek that weren't just, white guys to come out and say, "What about us?" You guys are like totally neglecting the fact that this show has been diverse since the very start. There's an argument that could be said that Nichelle Nichols was probably the premier black actress on television at that time. How many other black actresses can you sit there and think about off the top of your head in that time period that were basically the lead female on a show, on a primetime show?
Whoopi Goldberg's exact words were she saw Star Trek, she saw Nichelle Nichols, she ran into the other room and told her mother, "Mama, there's a black woman on television and she ain't no maid."
Exactly. And we've brought this up in private, we've brought this up before, and I'm surprised that I'm glad you brought her up. I'm surprised, considering the way that Whoopi Goldberg usually stands up for things like this, that she's not out there saying, no, wait a minute. You're really taking a lot away from not only Nichelle Nichols, but my contribution to Star Trek, all the other women's contribution to Star Trek in the past, and all the other races' contributions to Star Trek by trying to boost yourselves up so much by saying, "Look at us, we're all diverse," and blah, 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 blah.
And the other thing, like I said, we can't stand this whole thing, and you brought up a good point, this tearing down of the original series and the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise and the films in order to build up
even the JJ ones,
just to build this series up. I mean, I'm not going to say that this ruined my childhood, because if this ruins my childhood, I wasn't a happy child. But this has made me hate something with the name Star Trek on it, and that's not good.
Right.
And I keep saying, and actually you brought this up too, Tom. There's this idea, we have to support this, because if we don't, we will never get another Star Trek. We'll get another Star Trek. We will get another Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Star Trek's like James Bond. It'll go away, but eventually it'll come back. It's like Batman. It's like Superman. It'll be back in some form. Maybe not this form, but if this, all this guarantees is we'll get more of this bad Star Trek, and we don't want this.
Exactly, and this is what we say, and this is the truth. Why? Because Hollywood doesn't know how to sell an original idea, so they'll always go back to the well. No matter what. No matter how bad the last time it did, they will always look at The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger has not had a successful movie in, 40 years?
Yes, exactly.
But they still keep trying to do it. Tarzan, the last movie that actually did anything, I think, besides the Disney movie, was clear back to Greystoke, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Robin Hood. Another one. They're making more Robin Hood movies. Star Trek will be back regardless of how this does. But as said, if this is successful, they will run this idea into the ground. They will run Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek straight into the ground until we say no mas. We try to find something good in it. And we will admit that there are some things that are likable in this. But like I said, those all get lost just by the sheer badness of everything else around it. Under the surface, I mean, there really is, there's not much to go on.
It's so generic and superficial, I've said that already. But it's so far removed from Star Trek that I can't believe any Star Trek fan wouldn't be insulted by this. That's where I'm getting right now. I mean, I can understand DC fans. I can understand, certain people who don't like the prequels, and certain people who don't like The Force Awakens. I get that. I totally do. This, I'm not understanding the people who like it. Just like the same people, I'm like, what shows are these people watching? Because they can't be watching the same Star Trek Discovery I'm watching, and they can't be watching the same Orville I'm watching.
No, you're right. Yeah, I am baffled why you think Discovery is acceptable, but the Orville is not, really. And we will be talking more about the Orville as Star Trek Discovery goes on hiatus, thankfully. Next week in America is Thanksgiving. The Orville will probably be off that week. So it looks like we will have a small hiatus, but it'll give us a chance to catch up on it.
We've got some ideas, though. We've got some plans for you guys. We're actually going to finally get to do some fun shit.
Yes, we'll do some. We'll be doing some interviews. I'll probably be highlighting some of my favorite episodes of the original series or Next Generation. We got some fun plans for you people. But we really needed to air this out, though. We really did. This has been a long time coming, and like an STD, it's going to be back. So,
and I can see some of the comments. Yeah, we went through a long bitch fest, but you know what? Like I said, we fucking deserved it.
It needed to be said, really.
Right. So we get a break now. We get a break.
A much well-earned break.
I mean, there's probably plenty more we could have talked about these two episodes, but as we said before, Andre, obviously, we want to hear what he thinks. So, and he wants to kind of do an entire, retrospective on the whole first half of this first season. So we'll get into it a lot more in the future. We've gone a little bit longer than we wanted to already, but I'm done talking about it for now until then.
Yes. You know what? Let's close the transmission on this one, because I think we've said all we need to say. I'll just sum up by saying, stop defending this series, please. Just stop. I don't care. Just stop. I don't care if you're an open-minded millennial. I don't care. You can celebrate diversity all you want. Run it up the flagpole and see who salutes. But this show is just fucking terrible, okay? Don't try to tear down the original series to build this up, okay? We've gone on long enough, and we'll have more to say about this when Andre joins us on the main channel. So let's wrap up this discussion for Stardate 11142017.9 or whatever it is. I miss Buck Rogers. I miss Aaron Gray. Aaron Gray, if you're out there listening, you're probably not, but we need you to appear on the Orville. We really do.
I could think of 100 people I'd love to see on the Orville.
And we're going to close out transmission now. And I am Captain Rob, and if we missed anything, let us know in the comments. If you want us to discuss anything, let us know in the comments. Please subscribe. Please, if you have the means...
We're always trolling the comments.
Yes, we like interacting with our fans. If you have the means, please consider supporting the show on Patreon. You get all kinds of bonuses, you get previews, you get outtakes, you get special editions, bloopers, lost episodes. You will get uncut audio. You'll get a lot of stuff. And if you don't have the means to support the show through Patreon, please subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when all the latest content is uploaded. I am your narrator, Supreme Captain Rob, and you are...
Lieutenant Dan. No. I am Lieutenant Commander Tom.
And we will close out transmission. We will see you next time.
Nanu.